What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. As you can see, we're throwing it back to the Arc 3.0 Hunter here with a Raiden Flux Chest piece build for that Arc staff, giving us some buff to damage and duration. Works for all types of content, raids, Gambit, going through Master Catch, keep going through Master Lost Sectors. Very easy build to use, so let's get right into it. Starting off here with our Arc Strider abilities, aspects, and fragments. Of course, we're going to be using Arc Staff to pair with our Raiden Flux Exotic Chest piece. We're going with Marksman, Dodge, and Triple Jump with the Disorienting Blow so we can blind and make ourselves amplified. Very key for some of the aspects that we're going to be using and fragments. Now we do have pulse grenades on as well for that just ad management, and I think it's the best option with a base cooldown of 201. You can use storm grenades, but I think pulse for the hunter is better with this build. Now I'm going to be using flow state, so defeating those jolted targets makes us amplified. When we are amplified, your dodge recharges faster, which is key for the loadout as well, taking it into the endgame activities. We are also more resilient when we are dodging, and reload speed is greatly increased, so very nice just in general for reload, keeping us alive with that little resilience. Now we're also going to be using lethal current, so after we dodge, we are going to have increased melee range that jolts the target and creates a damaging aftershock. Super nice for that blinding as well, because it pairs with our disorienting blow over here. Now for the fragments on this build, we're going to be using Spark of Feedback to take melee damage. We increase our outgoing melee damage, helps with the resistance, as well as this build we're going to be dodging and getting that disorienting blow a decent amount. We're also going to be throwing on Spark of Shock, so our arc grenades jolt targets, just helping with the jolting aspect here for damaging those jolts. Gives us that melee and blinding attacks. Now right here we're going to have amplified our arc special weapons, create a blinding explosion. We're going to be using the Forbearance grenade launcher, so all of those explosions and chain reaction are also going to be blinding. Last but not least, we have Spark of Amplitude, so defeating targets while you are amplified creates orbs of power that just allows us to have our arc staff back faster, as well as amplified is very easy to get with Arc 3.0. Now moving on to our weapons here, we're going to be using the Outbreak Perfected for those unstoppable champions, as well as this does a good amount of damage on bosses, as well as that add clear potential with its little Siva nanites that swarm around doing damage and just wiping out some of those rank and file enemies. Now important for this build, we're using Forbearance with that ambitious assassin chain reaction from the Vow of the Disciple raid because of those blinding effects with one of our fragments that we have on. Super easy to add clear enemies, and with that ambitious assassin we can get that double load in the chamber and just add clear like crazy, and also do a good amount of damage with that double roll with ambitious assassin. Now we're going to throw on Commemoration on this build or Fixed Odds to make up for our two shield types that we're missing for endgame, since we have Arc in our Super and Forbearance. If we need Void Shields, taking the Commemoration, very good for Overload, and same thing with Fixed Odds, taking it in for Solar Shields, and also good for that LMG with Overload rounds. Now moving on to our armor, as you can see our stats are very even. This annoys me a little bit at 19, but it's alright with 100 mobility, 100 resilience, as well as that 70 strength. Now on our helmet here, we're going to be using Grenade Launcher Finder for our Forbearance, as well as Harmonic Siphon, so those rapid weapon defeats with our Forbearance is going to help us create orbs of power, allowing us to proc our arc staff more often. And we're also throwing elemental armaments on this, so that weapon final blows that match our arc subclass, so in our Forbearance is also going to have escalated chance to spawn elemental wells in the arc variety, so it's nice for for what we have on in our mods for later armor pieces here. Now on our arms, one of those that comes into play is Font of Wisdom, so picking up those Arc Elemental Wells because they match our subclass type grant us temporary increase to our intellect, improving the recharge rate of our super, so it kicks it up from 60 all the way up to 100 for the time being just by picking up an Arc Elemental Well. We also have that Overload Machine Gun and Unstoppable Pulse to go with our Outbreak Perfected and Commemoration or Fixed Odds. Now for our Raiden Flux right here, Synaptic Junctions, quick successive strikes with our Arc Staff increases its damage output and duration. You can see when I show some more gameplay that it does last forever when you're doing damage on enemies, and it does wipe out champions and mini bosses with ease. Now for our mods on this, we're going to have Elemental Time Dilation, so Elemental Well mods that grant you time limited benefits can now stack, so that Font of Wisdom that we have, we're going to be able to stack it up, having that effect last longer. So we're going to have that 100 intellect for a longer period of time. We're also going to throw on Grenade Launcher Reserves for our Forbearance and Concussive Dampener for that end game activity, just staying alive with that extra little bit of resilience. Moving on to our boots here, we're going to have Machine Gun Scavenger for both of our LMGs as well as Invigoration, so reduces melee cooldown each time we pick up an Orb of Power, just an added benefit to creating those orbs of power with our super as well as with Harmonic Siphon. Now we also have Powerful Friends on here to give us that plus 20 mobility, so we can have 100 with these nice 2 juicy stats down here as well. And last but not least, on our class item here, we have Amped Up and Thunderous Retort, helping us stay amplified longer and amped up. And then our arc super damage is also increased when we're critically wounded or amplified, so hence staying amplified longer. And it's very easy, like I said, to become amplified in Arc 3.0. And then we're going to have Elemental Light, so defeating combatants with our super spawns Arc Elemental Wells, so that is going to help us again proc Font of Wisdom with more Arc Elemental Wells laying around, as well as the Arc Elemental Wells we create from elemental armaments. So as you can see, we are absolutely blowing through a catch keep, and we have the master version on, so the enemies aren't squishy at all. You can do a decent amount of damage on them, and you can see this loadout works very, very well, keeping ads at bay, wiping them out, as well as doing some of that extra damage, like I said, on those champions, mini bosses, just going through with that successive hits, increases our damage and duration because of our chest piece, so it's very nice for that sustained DPS as well as ad management, kind of a jack of all trades for arc builds, if you will, especially with Outbreak Perfected. Very, very good end game weapon, as well as Forbearance in my personal opinion, and then Commemoration and Fixed Odds, both very good LMGs, probably my 2 favorite in their burns for sure. Commemoration and Void, and then also that Solar. Can't really go wrong with a crafted Fixed Odds. So hopefully y'all enjoy this build. Definitely my hunters try it out. Very, very fun to run any type of content you can think of with GMs, like I said, raids, normal Gambit, normal strikes. Very, very fun and user friendly. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.